This is Damon from NLP Gym, and I'm in New Orleans, Louisiana on New Year's Eve, and there is fireworks going off all around here right now. I had a long day today. I got to interview Melanie Fawer of Ashtanga Yoga, a world-renowned yogi instructor, and that was exciting for me because she is one of the great teachers in my life, and the way that she taught me Ashtanga Yoga is really what made my journey into NLP so rapid, and learning NLP so quickly and so fast was basically understanding how to really practice something. And that is what we discuss here in this video, is how to practice and what a practice really is and how to apply that to NLP. So enjoy this video. Also, make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel so you can get these videos on a regular basis. So I usually do an introduction and all that, but I'll get to that in a moment. Let's just talk about what I want to talk about.
Oh, wait.
The cat is
Let
jumping up.
me put the bird away. Sorry. I can't have the death of the bird.
This is Damon from NLP Gym, and I am here with Melanie Fawer, renowned Ashtanga yogi, and we're going to do some overlap here with NLP and yoga, and I often refer to NLP as yoga for the mind, but we're going to talk a little bit about yoga for the body and how that has affected my practice with NLP, and how Ashtanga has helped me learn NLP faster. And so that's what I wanted to start with, and so welcome to my YouTube channel.
Thank you. Hello.
And so I wanted to start with the practice of Ashtanga, which tends to be more intense than I've found than any other yoga, and repetitive is what I've heard people call it, though I don't feel it's that, and I think a lot of the practitioners don't feel that way if you stick with it. And I think it accelerated my progress physically, but then all the wonderful benefits that come with the practice happens much faster. I remember when I first started coming to your studio, which was like, I don't know, 13 or 14 years ago, and I only went there because it was the closest one. And
It's a shame about it. Yeah.
And once I started practicing, I remember seeing that the Mysore Style, where it wasn't a led class, it was people, you were teaching them individually right away to have their own practice, which was fascinating. I'd never seen that in yoga. And I thought, well, I want to give that a try. And then I started doing it, and I said, well, I'm going to come 2 to 3 days a week. And you said, no, you need to come 5 or 6 days a week. And I remember thinking,
I was nice and strict in those days.
Yeah. And I remember thinking, yeah, whatever, I'm never going to do that. And suddenly I found myself showing up 5 to 6 days a week, and then when I wasn't showing up, I was practicing at home.
14 years later, you're still doing it.
Still doing it, yeah. So what is it maybe for you, what attracted you to the practice, and what do you think it is about Ashtanga? I mean, because there are a lot. I mean, it's still yoga, but there's a lot of differences in the approach to practice. What can you say about that?
I think what's got me about Ashtanga and the people that practice it so diligently is the method of Mysore Style. I think of course it's repetitious in that it's more or less the same sequence every day, etc. But if you're honing the drishtis, which are your eye gazes, and if you're honing your breath and you're keeping your mind most significantly on the two, then it's keeping you in your present moment, and then there's no past and there's no future, and there's no repetitiveness to that. That's just basically meditation, just straight, moving through things. And that's why, to someone who actually practices it and experiences it, it's not repetitive. It doesn't get boring. After you've been taught the sequence one by one, little by little, the teacher is relatively removed from it in a very direct way, and so there's not a lot of this talking going on. You're not always being pulled out of yourself to see what the teacher's doing. Any kind of levels of competition between you and whoever's next door is really for you to look at your own kind of mirror. And it immediately just brings everything into a very concentrated state within the practitioner, and ultimately brings you to a state of meditation a lot quicker than the other styles. And it's a discipline. I think a lot of other styles are kind of just doing yoga, more physical, and this takes you to a very different place.
So everything she just said has been my approach to learning NLP. I mean, everything about that, where even just up into the last sentence you said that I see a lot of NLP trainings and a lot of people attending NLP trainings, and it's sort of like doing NLP to do NLP, just doing NLP just to do NLP, whereas Ashtanga is so focused and it's about the progression of it and getting better, and has been my approach to NLP, and I hold that directly from Ashtanga Yoga. And it's like what I guess I didn't understand in yoga classes that I attended, because I think I only attended like 2 before I came to your class. It just seemed so random, and it was like, how do you know if you're progressing or getting better when you're doing like all this freestyle and just kind of like
in other classes?
This kind of jumbled mixture of things. And so and the same thing happens in NLP. It's kind of like they just, well, let me throw you a little bit of that, let me throw you a little bit of this, but nobody's really practicing, like, let me just get really good at one thing.
No matter what you're doing, yoga, NLP, walking your dog, I mean, you have to do it little by little. You're never going to get good at it. I mean, I see it with my 7-year-old when I say go out and walk the dog. At first the dog's controlling him, and how does he do it, and he gets angry, I mean, anything you have to take in little steps and try it and do it. You have to do anything to get good at it, whether it's learning to read, ride your bicycle. I mean, if you just take it back to the basics, to your childhood, we've all been sort of given those tools. We just don't know how to take it to the next place and use those tools in those containers we've been given, ideally in childhood, whether it is to learn to ride a bike or whatever, and take it into adulthood, because it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Don't you agree?
Absolutely. And you touched on this a little bit, and I think this is probably the reason why my students, when I teach them NLP, or any students who learn from any teachers in NLP, is they don't want to do the practice over and over. They feel like, okay, well, once I've gone through the lecture of, say, like language patterns, they go, oh, well, I kind of know that, and they don't want to go. And it's really about the practice and repetitive practice. Now,
well, I really think that's on the teacher, frankly. I mean, I think whoever's just teaching the NLP has to, drive that home to ideally the people learning that you have to practice this. And I don't do it. I don't know that much about it, but I would think that should be, getting imprinted from the teacher. But that's just, I guess, different schools of thought.
Well, for how
obviously you feel that way.
Yeah. So how have you, I guess, say with yourself, like with NLP? I mean, you've been doing it for how long? I mean, not NLP, Ashtanga. How long have you been doing?
Ashtanga since 1994.
Since 1994, and the series don't change. The primary series is still the primary series. The second series is still the second series. How do you deal with that for yourself when it starts to feel like, okay, I've been doing this for over 20 years, and you're still doing the same poses, the same sequence? And you touched on this a little bit more about, a little bit earlier about there's no past and there's no future. So how do you deal with that for yourself to keep your practice going?
Well, we all get caught. I mean, we're all human, so it's not like every day I've just been perfectly present, So I've definitely struggled at different times, but not as much as the times where it comes without a struggle. And I've had to, by nature of how I learned, having no teacher when I wasn't in India, get very good at self-practice. All of that said, I find when I'm having trouble focusing on my breath or whatever, if I can get back to the drishti, and a tight drishti, so not just like looking out in front of my nose, but like literally my nose, and maybe even speeding up the breath and not going too slow, not getting too caught up in working on an alignment on that day, or but just really moving with the strict vinyasa and picking up the pace. I find that helps a lot, and I give that advice to people who maybe they are having a hard time, something in their life, a divorce, whatever. That's some advice I give to them. I mean, in younger years, even once in a while today, I will go against Guruji's advice, and I will take my mat outside to somewhere covered on a beautiful day, and I'll practice outside, at the park by some water. On occasions, I've even been known to play music. Now, if you don't know about Ashtanga, that takes you out of, those are basically distractions. And so in a true Ashtanga class, you don't have music, you don't do it outside, etc. So I've never done that a lot, but I'd be lying if I didn't.
I remember I went to a yoga class one time. They didn't have an Ashtanga class, and they started playing music. I got so angry.
Sad.
Yeah, because I couldn't hear my breath. And that's such an important part of the practice.
Yeah. Well, but then it's a good tool, isn't it? Right? Because then you have to like really go to your gazes and your own breath, even if you can hear it. Or I would, to me, because then it's the reflection of your anger, coming out, and where you're going to let that dictate your practice. Did you find that at all? That you caught that?
I don't remember. Yeah. I remember that was just getting back into yoga, and I started. It's funny because I joke around and I say that I've had affairs on Ashtanga, or I've cheated on Ashtanga.
Yeah.
I've gone out and tried other forms, but it was a really good thing for me to do because I realized how important the practice is to me, because I always return to it, and because I couldn't go as deep in the other practices.
Yeah, I think that's something about Ashtanga too. The more you do it, it does show your reaction to things, so that you become more of a witness to your behavior, and so that your mind or your behavior does not have such a control over you, and kind of the reverse.
So you can just map that right across into NLP. That is
good.
So there, it amazes me. I knew I had a feeling about this, but talking to you, it just it reaffirms how much I've applied Ashtanga, the principles of it, to my NLP practice.
I think Ashtanga is a good container. It gives us a good container from which to move into the world, or move into our minds, or whatever. And you have to have a container for anything you do, otherwise everything runneth over,
Yeah.
And so I think no matter what age you've come to Ashtanga, I think it's, and whether you realize it or not, it's creating that for you. And I think that's part of why it probably helped you to then translate it into the NLP.
Ashtanga really changed the way that I even saw the world. And NLP did the same thing for me. And Ashtanga, in a way, sort of trains the energy in your body to sort of function in a certain way, I found. And it also keeps me very grounded. And then, of course, NLP was the same thing. When you start to train in NLP enough, and I don't mean to study it like read it from a book, because you really can't. It's like trying to study Ashtanga from a book, and you're never going to get it that way. So they're both very experiential, and the more you do them, the more it sort of alters the way that you see the world, and you see the world through, I guess, the NLP structure and the Ashtanga structure, and I found that these two have been extremely similar. This video is to be continued. Lots more great information from Melanie Fawer and how to apply Ashtanga principles to NLP to learn NLP rapidly. Check out my website, nlp-gym.com. Follow me on Facebook for real-time updates on upcoming workshops and free practice sessions that I hold in Santa Cruz, California. If you like this video, please click like right down here and leave me a comment or a question. I will get back to you. Stay tuned to the end of this video so you can see how you can get your hands on a free NLP online training. Take care.